People will pay you $2,000 for a few days work just for this skill I'm about to teach in this workshop. Or if you want to build your own online business landing page or blog, you're going to have the skills to do it. Basically, once you learn it, you'll always have a way to make money online. In this step-by-step workshop, you're going to learn how to build a professional grade WordPress website. And even better, you're going to learn how to host your own websites. This means that if you do build a website for someone, you can charge them $200–300 a year just to host their websites as well. This is a very high value skill. So let's jump straight into it. So the first thing you're obviously going to want to do is set up your website hosting. Now, I would choose using SiteGround or whatever hosting plan, whatever hosting company you want, but a combination of hosting company and WordPress instead of using something like Webflow. If you're going to be creating a lot of businesses going forward, maybe like you want to try affiliate marketing, you want to have an e-commerce store, and there's lots of different things you want to do. You can do them all on SiteGround and with WordPress for the exact same price. Or if you don't know what Webflow, it's going to charge you €15–20 a month for every single individual website. And those bills can get very expensive over time, especially if you're testing new ideas and you don't know whether they're going to be bringing in money. So let's just take a quick look at the two options that you'll be likely going with. So you have Startup here and Grow Big. Startup is €3 a month, should I say, and Grow Big is €5.50 a month. So it might be the same in dollars or it might be a little bit cheaper. Either way, it's super cheap for the first year. Now, in the second year, they charge you full price, but in 12 months' time, hopefully you'll have a couple of online businesses up and running. So if you come down, we can see the main difference is that the Startup gives you one website and the Grow Big gives you unlimited websites. Now, by all means, you could start off with this one and then you can upgrade later on when you actually want to make your second website. So it's completely fine to start with this one. The one thing I will say though is for the extra couple of euro a month, you're going to be getting it for the first 12 months. It's going to be heavily discounted. So you might want to go with Grow Big and just start off with that if you plan on making those, like more than one website in the next few months. Beyond that, there's no real difference between them, to be honest. They all give you a free security certificate, which is your SSL, just to show that your website's secure. They all give you free email. They all give you WordPress straight out of the box. You also get a free CDN, which is basically just a content delivery network. It means that if someone's browsing your website from the US, they'll deliver it from a US server, so it's quicker. If they're browsing from Europe, they'll deliver from a European server, so it's quicker. So it's a better user experience, and it also helps with SEO when your website is that much quicker. And the last feature is one hopefully you don't really need, but it's great to have. It's a daily backup. So they'll back up your website every single day. So if ever you go in and you make some, you change something and it breaks the website, you can just roll it back to the day before. So just pick either of these options now to get started. So whatever one you want, whether you want to just start with the one website or you want to just go straight out the gate with unlimited websites, pick whatever one you want. So here, I'll just select this one here. And as I said, the first 12 months are going to be heavily discounted. So get whatever plan you want here. And once you check out here, I'm going to see you on the next step, which is going to be the dashboard. Okay, so now that you're on the dashboard, what you want to do is select websites in the top left. And if you don't have a domain name yet, you just select new website. And scroll down and you're going to have three options here actually. You're going to have new domain, which means you can buy a new domain name, or you can transfer an existing one if you own one already and you have it on something like GoDaddy or Namecheap or somewhere else. And the third option is temporary domain, which basically means you can build a website, but it won't be live on the internet. So it's kind of like a testing ground. So most likely in this case, you're going to need either new domain or existing domain. So once you either purchase or transfer your new domain name, you just want to then go over to websites again. So here I'm going to use a domain name that I already own. And obviously in this case, if you don't have one yet, you just click new domain, but the steps are going to be the exact same. So if you click new domain, you just enter a domain name in and it'll tell you if it's available. If it is, you just continue as I am with my existing one. So I'll select existing and I'll enter my domain name here and click continue. Now it's going to give us the option to start a new website, which we want to select. We want to scroll down and the two main options we're looking at here is WordPress and WooCommerce. WooCommerce just means we can add products to our WordPress store easily. Now we can add this later on, so we don't really need to select this now. Because if you're just setting up an affiliate blog or something like that, you don't need to add WooCommerce. You can go into the plugin store later on and do it. So for now, we'll just select WordPress. Next, you just want to add an email address and password here so you can log into your WordPress dashboard later on. So once you've done that, just click continue. And next, we just click finish. So now it's just going to take a moment to install WordPress for us. Okay, so now that our website's been added here, we want to go back to websites. And then if we come down here, we're going to be able to see our website under My Websites. And next, we just want to click on Site Tools. So now that we're on the dashboard of our website, there's two things we want to do here. We're going to set up our email address and we're going to install our security certificate. This just gives you the lockup here beside your URL to let people know that this website is secure. And it means that your website, instead of being a HTTP, will be HTTPS for secure. So the first thing to do that is click on security on the left hand side, scroll down to SSL manager, and then you want to make sure you select your website and then come over to select SSL. So in here you just want to make sure the correct domain is selected, and we can see under manage SSL there's nothing here. And if you come over, we select SSL and we select let's encrypt wildcard, and then just click on get. Now it's just going to take a moment to install that. So we can see after a minute or two it's going to have our SSL installed, and we want to see the status as active. So next we're going to set up our email account. So go over to email on the left hand side and select accounts. So just set up whatever email accounts you want here. Usually I do something like hi@domainname.com or dave at whatever the domain name is.com, and just enter a password and then click create. So we'll just set one up here that says hi@wfhtribe.com. So we'll just enter the account name here, and then I'll enter a password, and then you want to click create. And now we can see we have hi@wfhtribe.com as an email address. And if I wanted to do another one, obviously I could just go to the left hand side again and click on accounts, and we could set Dave. Add another password and then click create. So there's one more thing we want to do after having the email set up, and that's to set up a forwarder, which just means that whenever one of these gets an email, it will forward it to whatever email address you want. So it could be your personal one, an address box that we monitor more often. Because if it's a brand new website, you're not going to be getting emails for a while. And maybe you're setting up affiliate programs or something like that, and you want to get notified when one of them replies, but you don't want to jump into SiteGround to check the email. Get it forwarded to your personal one. So to do that, we click on forwarders on the left hand side and just select whatever email address you set up, and then add your personal email address here and click create. This just means, as I said, that whenever somebody emails this, it will then get forwarded to your personal email. You can come back here in here, and then you can reply to it from the official domain email. And just to quickly show you how you go about accessing those emails, when you click back on accounts here, you can just hover over the three dots and you can select log into webmail. And that means any emails that these addresses receive, you'll get forwarded to your personal email, but you'll also then be able to come in here, log into your webmail, and then respond to them from your official domain name email. And obviously, if you use something like Outlook or Mail on Mac, you can just connect the username and password there as well and set up your accounts. So with all that foundational work done now, we can finally log into our WordPress dashboard and start building out our website. So to do that, you want to select dashboard in the top left, and then you want to click install and manage WordPress. Now we've already installed it, so we just need to scroll down here and you should see it installed. If you don't, obviously you can just install it here, but we've done it in the previous steps. And if you go over here, you can click on log into admin panel, and this will open your website in a new browser. Now here you can just select exit wizard. And now we're finally on the WordPress dashboard, so we can start building out our website. So now we're on the dashboard. There's a few things you want to take care of first. The first thing is we want to install a theme. So to do that, we want to go down to appearance and select themes. Now we're not going to be using any of these as templates. We're going to just be using the general structure of the theme. So what I actually do here is I go to add new and I search for Astra. I use Astra for all my websites. It's completely free. And as I said, we're going to be building our own pages. So the layout and design is not what's important. It's just Astra is a very lightweight theme, so it doesn't add a lot of bloat and slow down your website. So what we need to do now is just click on install and then select activate. After that, we want to go to plugins on the left-hand side and we want to select add new. And then in the search field in the top right, you want to just search for Elementor. And then we just want to click install, and then we want to select activate. This is going to be our page builder, which basically just means we don't have to do any coding. It's just drag and drop stuff, which we're going to get into in a few minutes. One more thing we want to do here, we can see in the top it says not secure, even though we installed our security certificate. So to fix that, we want to go over to SG Optimizer on the left-hand side. And then we'll go through these configurations very quickly, but the main one we want to be doing is focusing on the security one for now. But if you click go to environment and select HTTPS enforce. Now, as soon as we turn this on, it's going to make us log back into our WordPress dashboard. So just turn this on. So to log back into the dashboard, you can use the username and password you set up when you were setting up the website originally, or you can go back to here and you can select log into admin panel. Now, if you ever forget your password, you can come back to this panel here, and if you select the three dots, it will give you the option to update admin password. So let's just jump back over here. Now we can see we have the little lock up here, which means our website is now secure. So the very last thing we can do here before we start building out the website is go over to SG Optimizer again on the left-hand side, and we want to select front end. So there's some settings we can activate here that will enhance the performance of our website, and you just want to click on the recommended ones. So I turn on this one and this one. Then go over to JavaScript and select this, this, and this. Now, if you already have your website built and you turn these on, go back and make sure that this doesn't stop anything functioning on the website. But if you haven't started building yet, it's absolutely fine to do this. And if you notice something's not working on your website later on, you can come in and turn some of these off and see if it fixes it. But generally, it helps in speeding up the website. So then go over to General, and we want to just select this one. So now that we have all those turned on, we're going to move on to the next step, which is building out our website. Okay, so the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to set up a home page. We're not going to do anything with it yet. We're just going to set it up, and we're going to configure our website to let it know what the home page is. So we're going to hover over Pages on the left-hand side and select Add New. Here you can just select the X, and we want to say, we're going to call this Home, and click Publish. Next, you want to click on the W on the top left to go back to our dashboard. And then once again, you want to select Add New under Pages. And we'll just call this one Blog and select Publish. And again, we want to go back to our dashboard by clicking the W. And if we scroll down here, we can see Settings on the left-hand side. And next, we just want to select Reading. And under your home page displays, we want to select a static page. And the home page, you want to set the home. And the posts page, we want to set the blog. And then we click Save. So the next thing you want to do is come over to the left-hand side and click on General. And in here, you want to just add your site title, which is the name of your website, and the tagline for your website. So this will display when somebody searches for your website in Google. It will show up in the bar up here in the tab. It will have your website name and tagline. So once you have that in, you just need to scroll down and click Save Changes. And next, we're going to start designing and building out our website. So the first thing we need to do to start building out our home page is to go up to Pages on the left-hand side and select All Pages. Then you want to select Home. And here we want to click Edit with Elementor. So this is the Elementor page builder we're looking at, and we're on the home page here. Don't worry about the heading here and your logo or the footer. We're going to change a lot later on. They clearly look terrible now, but we're going to fix that. I just want to get you familiar with how Elementor works as a page builder. So there's a few things we can look at here. If you click the plus, you can add sections. So this just basically divides it out into building blocks. Now, we don't need to worry how this looks on mobile just yet. I'm going to show you later on how we can, we build first for desktop, and then I'm going to show you how we can turn that into a mobile responsive website as well, very, very easily. So to give you an example, you've got, 2 blocks side by side here, 3 side by side here as well. But I'll show you how that looks on some of my own websites. So if we go into the Modern Freedom one, we can see this is just one big block. If we scroll down, this would be 3 blocks. If we scroll down here, this would be 2 blocks. Same with if we want to brand cut, it's kind of similar as well. This would be 2 blocks. And for things like the email sign up, we could have them as 2 blocks as well. So let's just replicate the banner on this brand cut website, for example. So here we're going to have one big block, and we're going to have a heading, a subheading, and a call to action. So to do that, we want to jump back over to Elementor. So we go back to our home page. Here, I'll just select one block. Now, if we click on the plus here, we're going to be able to see all of the elements that we can just drag straight in. Now, because we're using the free version of Elementor, we get access to these basic ones. You can see you got headings, text sections, buttons, video, icons, and stuff like that. But there's some that are locked for the Pro. The Pro is like $50 a year. If you start making some sales or you start getting some affiliate commissions, it's definitely worth upgrading because you can add a lot of nice features to the website. But for now, you don't really need that. And if we scroll down further, we can see there's some more in the general section. So we got like reviews, carousels, icon lists. So there is a lot to work with here, and we're going to stick with the free version for now. Now, before we start building this first section now, I want to just show you something else. So obviously the plus lets you build different sections. Let's just X out of that, or sorry, should I say change the structure of the sections. And the folder here will bring you to templates. So if we click that, we can see that it's already provided us with some templates. So these are just 404 pages. So let's search for hero, because that top section is called a hero section. Now we can see some of them are labeled Pro because they have the email field in them. We'll get into that later. I'll give you a workaround for that. So we can't import the Pro ones in any way, but you can import some of these other ones. So let's say this one here we could import directly. So if I just click Insert, and at this stage you would just need to set up your free Elementor account. So you click Get Started. Then you would just register and then click Sign In. And once you signed in, you'll see it'll give you the option to connect your free account to this website. So just click Connect. And now it's going to bring us back to our website, and we can see it's actually imported to this template here. And with this template that's been imported, we can obviously click on anything and we can edit it however we want, which is very self-explanatory, very easy. But I actually want to delete this and show you how to do it manually, so you know how to build them yourself and you get a better idea how you can get in and edit these. So for now, I'm actually just going to click on the X here and delete that section. The one final thing I want to show you about templates is, if you click on the template folder again, you can also click on pages and you can import full pages. So if you see a page here and you like the structure of it, you can just import it and it can save you a lot of work and a lot of hassle as well. So, let's click on this one. We can see that it's worked out a lot of the structure for us if this is the type of page you want. But again, we're going to be doing it manually just so you get a better feel for how to do it. So let's just X out of that. Now, the final thing I want to show you here about templates is if you click the folder again and you go over to My Templates, you can actually drag some templates in here. Now, I have templates for my own website. So this agency website here, and for obviously Modern Freedom as well. I'm going to include those below, so you can actually just drag those files in here and you'll have the same website structure. So if you wanted to start an agency yourself, you'd have a great framework to work with. So let's just jump back over to the website, and now we're going to just do it the manual way. So we just need to click the plus here, and then we want to select a full width section. So just select the first one. And then you want to come over to the 9 dots up here beside edit section and click on that. And then we want to drag in a heading. Then you want to click the dots again, come back down, drag in a text editor. And then a third time we click the dots and we come in and drag in a button. So now all of our elements are in one section. So what we want to do next is we want to click on the pencil icon again. And then we just want to come down here to alignment and we want to center that. And then we do the same with the pencil icon on the subheading. We click that. And in this case, we go over to style and we go to alignment and we center that as well. And finally, for the button, we do the exact same thing. We click on it, we go to alignment, which is under content in this one, and we want to center that. So now that we have the general structure of our heading, what we want to do is we want to add a background. So to add a background image, obviously you just want a plain colored background or a gradient or something like that. What I mean by this is you just don't want it to have any text on it, because when it resizes on certain devices, it's going to look awful. So just click on the plus here and you can choose an image. So I just dragged in the image of a background here. So I just click select and we can see it adds that background there. Now, if I expand this, it might actually look off. So it hasn't reached the full width. So if this happens to you and you want to add a background like this, all you need to do is scroll down and click on display size and cover. And now we can see it covers the whole section. Now for now, I'm actually just going to remove this, and so we just click on the bin there. So I delete that, and if I go over to gradient, I'll show you how to use this one. So you got two colors to choose from here. So we'll just click on the color here, the top one, and we'll set it to something like an orange for now, just a bright color. Leave it at that, and then we'll come down to the second color. We'll just set this to, say, maybe a yellow, something kind of similar to it, just to add a bit of contrast. And 1 second. You can see it's added the gradients. There's a few other things we can do here. Obviously, we can change where that gradient shows up, where it starts from. So we can put it in the middle. We can also change the angle of it, as you can see. And you can do this to the buttons as well and stuff like that, which we'll get into in a bit. One last thing you can do here is these are linear gradients. You can have it radiate out from the center as well. So if I click on that, and you can change the location of it. So have it expanding out from the center like that as well. So there's lots of different things you can do here, lots of different ways of playing around with it. You can also change the position of that. So let's put it on, say, the bottom center, change the location so we can see it expands, gets bigger. So between being able to add a background image and this gradient, there's really not a lot you can't do here. So let's just stick to linear for now while I move on. Okay, now while we're in here and we're working on the design of the header, one more thing I'll show you is if you go to shape divider down the bottom, you can add some styling to this. So let's select, say, mountains. So that's to the top. So I had top selected there, so let's just remove that. So we go to the bottom, which is going to be the bottom of this section, and we just click on mountains. And then we can do things like we can change the height, we can change the width, and they've got lots of other options in here that you can play around with as well. Some of them look a lot worse than others, but you could choose something like this. It doesn't have to be as severe. You can kind of reduce the depth of it. And obviously it depends on what type of site you're building out. So, if you're making a site with a more playful product, you could do something like clouds. You could adjust the height of them. So for now, I'm actually just going to remove that and leave it to none. I just wanted to show you some of the options that you can play around with there. So the next thing we're going to look at is the typography and the button here, the design of the button, and obviously where the link goes to as well. Sometimes you don't want the link going to an external page. For example, on brand code here, you can see that I have a call to action, and if I click on it, it just actually brings them down the page. So I'm going to show you how to do that as well. So let's go back to the website, and the first thing we're going to tackle is the heading. So to change the font, we want to go over to style. We want to click on typography, and here we can change the size. So you can make it nice and big, and then you can change the font family as well. So click on that, and we can change it to something like Poppins is a nice header font. You can add the weight as well, so you can make it bold. And obviously you can do whatever you want here. You can make it italic, you can do a few other things. You can come in here at the text color, you can change the color to white if you want. I am going to leave it for black for now. And you can also come in here and add a text shadow if you want as well. Just to add a bit more dimension to it, but I'm going to leave that off for now. Next, we're going to look at the description. So if we click on that, it's very similar. So all we need to do here is, well, there's two ways of doing this. We can actually edit it from in here as well. You might need to expand this toolbar toggle. And if you do, that's fine. And then you can highlight some of the text and you can click here and change the text color. Let's change it to white. Now I'm going to undo that because I'm going to show you another way, an alternative way of doing this that gives us a little more flexibility. So what you can do here is you can go up to style again. You can click on text color. You can change the text color. So we're going to leave that up. We're going to leave it as black for now. Again, typography, we can change the size. We click on family, we can leave it as whatever we want. I'll leave it as Arial for now. So next we're going to look at editing the button. So to do that, we just need to click on the button and select content on the left. And we're going to leave type as default here. And the text, you can put in whatever call to action you want. So I'll just say, click me. Obviously you want to have a call to action there. Now alignment, we can leave it centered for now. You can move it left, right. It depends on what the structure of your page is going to be. If this is divided into two sections, like you got a half on the left and the other half on the right, you might want to have this left aligned with the text. I'll show you how to do that in a little bit as well, because we're going to be making an alternative type of banner next, where we're going to have two different sections. For the size, you can just leave it as it is for now, because we're going to change the size of it somewhere else. Now here you can add an icon if you want. So to do that, you want to just click icon library. Depends what your call to action is, of course. If we're just moving them down the page, we can click on this arrow, select insert, and we can see it inserts itself there first. Then we can add that. If we click icon position, we can move it after the text as well, which actually looks a little bit nicer. So next, we want to come back up and we want to select style. Here we click typography. This will make the button a lot bigger when we change the typography. So we can make it say 24, maybe even a little bigger. We can change the font family if we want as well. Obviously, we can make it bold. The same we can do text in all the other sections that we looked at. And now we can see we got some other options just below. We can obviously change the text color of it. I'm going to change that to black. We can change the background type of the button. We can do a classic, which again is just a simple color, or we can do a gradient again. So we just click on gradient here. And like the other gradient I showed you a minute ago, for the background, we can just change this to whatever we want. But for now, we already have a gradient in the background, so I'll probably just stick with a solid color for now. So I'll click on classic. I'll come down here. I'll make it black as well. Because I'm making it black, I'm actually going to change the text color back to white. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is you can add a border if you want. So you could go solid. You could add a, like, say, obviously just to give you an idea of actually what the border looks like there. You can click 5. You can come down here. You can change the color. You can change that to white as well. Obviously, maybe make it 2 or something like that, a little more minimal. And the border is optional, obviously. So for now, I'm actually just going to leave it as 1 just so you can actually see it there. And when we come down here, of course, you can change the color of the border. But more importantly, we can change the border radius, which just makes it a circle if we want, or curves the edges, should I say. So if we change that to 50, we can see it's given us quite a lot of curve. If we change it to something like 10, we can see there's a slight curve around the button there. Let's leave it at, say, 30. And now if you want to make this button bigger without expanding the text, you want to add more space around it, we would come down to padding down here. Now, if you click on this links value together, you're going to unlink them, and it's going to do this. Now, what we want to do here is we can just basically tell it exactly what dimensions we want. So we'd say 20 at the top, padding of 20 at the bottom, padding of 40 at the right, and padding of 40 at the left. Now, the final thing we're going to look at regarding the button is if you come up here, you can see the option to hover. This just means that it will do something when we hover over it. So what I kind of like to do, it depends on what style you have the website, but you have the background type and it's classic and it's just going to be black, right? So what I do on that is I click on the color and if it's black, I'll just do it as a slightly lighter shade of black. So when I hover over, you can see it's kind of animating. So let's just darken that a little bit. So you can see it's very subtle, but it's changing color. So depending on what color you're doing yourself, you might want to do that as well. So obviously you can have the border color change as well as you hover over it. But the main thing you want to look at here is the hover animation. So if we click on that, there's a few things we can do. We can click on grow. which means that when we hover over it, it gets bigger, bounce in, it does that. You could have a push. Generally, I just like to leave it. Obviously, there's a huge amount of options here. I'm not going to go through them all. You can play around with them, whatever style you want yourself. For now, I'm going to actually just select, let me see. I'll select shrink. Okay, so now we have the button in. There's one thing I want to actually show you. There is quite a bit of space between these two things. And there's a kind of a strange reason for this in Elementor. So if that happens to you, what you actually need to do is come over here to the text. And we can see there is no space under here, so it shouldn't be showing up. But what you can do is, instead of seeing the visual editor, we can click on the text editor. And if you come in here and just go back, you can see it makes it a lot smaller. So then just hit update. Now these three are in proportion to each other, the distance between them, which is exactly what we want. So to add some text in here, I'm actually just going to take what I have brand cut and paste it in. Obviously, this is not going to be a copywriting course, so just to get something in there, so you're going to see what it looks like when you have your own website, when you have your own copy in there. So let me just paste this in. I'm going to go back to style. I'm going to make it a lot bigger, actually. And we can see if I jump over to brand cut here, we have some of it in bold, and it adds a nice contrast to it. So we can do that here as well. And to do that, you can actually just highlight some of the text down here, and then just go up and select bold. Next, we just want to come down here and click update to save our work. So there's another type of top section you might want to make as well, and that's going to be where it's divided into two sections. So I'm going to very quickly show you how we would turn this into that. So if we click on these two things, these two sections here, we can see it's divided into two sections. So what we want to do is we want to take these elements, and if we click on one of them and select duplicate, we can click the pencil and we can drag it in down here. Again, if we do it here, pencil, duplicate, drag it in. Same with the button. And now over this side, we click on the plus, and we can add either a picture, or say we have a product picture, or we have a video, so we can search for video, we could drag a video in. And then if you want to center that in the middle, you click up here, this little book that says edit column, and you select horizontal align center, vertical align middle. And we can see it's moved to the middle, and over here we do the exact same. Middle, center. Now that one hasn't really moved because it's taking up the whole section. Now in here as well, you can also add something like if you have a Substack newsletter, you can go on to Substack, you can get your embed code off there, and you can embed your Substack newsletter over here as well. So I'll very quickly show you how to do that. So say we're on Substack, as I said, for example. Now I will say if you're not on Substack and you want to actually use, you don't want to use something like Substack or a third party, you can actually, let me just delete that. You can click on this and you can come into forms. But the problem is these forms are only in the paid version. So you'd need to pay €50 to Elementor to access these forms. They are useful, so if you are willing to spend the money on it, it is worth doing that because you also get all the other, all the other sections as well that you can add to make your website look a little bit better. But for now, I want to keep everything free, so you come over to Substack, click on your profile, go down to settings, select dashboard, then you go to settings. And in here, we can just search for embed because it's quite far down the page. So it says embed sign up form on other websites. So if we copy that, come back over to Elementor, we click here. We want to search for, HTML, drag that in, and then we want to paste our code. So if this is for a newsletter, for example, this title and tagline is getting pulled from Substack. So you can come in here, you can actually edit that as well. So that's been pulled from your Substack homepage. Now, you don't want to just repeat yourself over here. So the text here will just kind of be complementary to that. So you'd have some of the features that you get in your newsletter. And as I said, you can put in a product image or a video here, whatever you really want. It's just another style of hero section or main header section. So as I said, this Substack email is a workaround if you don't want to pay for Elementor Pro. The one drawback you're going to have is if you do add background text here, this background here is going to stay white. Now you can change the color of the purple subscribe button. You can do that in your Substack dashboard. This is how your Substack homepage will look. So you can edit those things, but you lose a lot of flexibility on the design of the banner if you want to have this section here. So for now, we're going to stick with a call to action like this, and we're going to put the Substack banner a little bit lower on the page. So for now, we're actually just going to remove this section. And I'm going to show you how to make this look good on both mobile and desktop. So if we click on responsive on the bottom left here, responsive mode, we can see we get these three icons in the top. desktop, tablet, and mobile. So if we click on tablet, we can see it looks okay. It doesn't look fantastic. But if we click on mobile, it looks absolutely awful. So we're going to want to fix that next. So the first thing we want to do to make a section mobile responsive is to go back to desktop here, and we want to duplicate it. So we just want to click on the 6 dots, right click and select duplicate. Now we have 2 sections. We're going to only show this top one on desktop. So we're going to hide it on mobile and we're going to hide it on tablet. Now to do that, we click the 6 dots, we go to advanced, we scroll down to responsiveness, and then we simply select hide on tablet and hide on mobile portrait. Next, we come down to the second one we made, and we want to hide this one on the desktop because this will only be for mobile and tablet. So we select advanced, responsive, hide on desktop. So now the only one we can see here and edit is the one that will be visible on desktop. Now, if we go to mobile portrait here and click on that, we can see the desktop one is grayed out. And if we scroll down, we now have this new one to play with that will just show on mobile and just show on tablet. So we want to click on the 6 dots and we want to remove the margin that we put in earlier. So we put a margin of 100 on the top, right, bottom, and left. So we want to just hit 0. And if you want, you can even add a small bit of padding here. So maybe like 10 or something like that. And now we want to click on the heading and we want to reduce the size of that text because it's way too big for mobile. It's 58 on desktop. On mobile, we'll bring it down. Let's just say to something like 35. Then we want to click on this text here. We want to do something similar. We'll just reduce it a little bit. It's on 26. So maybe we'll bring it down to 20. And I really don't mind the button being too big on mobile, so I'd actually probably just leave that as it is. Now again, like we mentioned earlier, we can see there's a bit of extra space in between these two, between the button and the text that shouldn't really be there. So if we click on the pencil icon, go back to content and do that trick again earlier where you select text instead of visual, you just go back and you can see it's brought them closer together. So next we just click update. And now this is how your header section is going to look on mobile. Now if we click on tablet, we can see it also looks fine there as well. And we're going to be adding a header here later on as well, so it won't be so plain. There will be some stuff in here. So next we're going to look at adding a few more sections down below. So we're going to go back to desktop here and we're going to add some more sections to the website. So the next section I'm going to show you how to add on this website will be an icon list. So you can showcase some features of your website or whatever you're selling. So you can see on Modern Freedom, when you come down here, they kind of animate into the screen. When you hover over them, they have an animation as well. And there's a heading to say what it is, and obviously a bit of text as well. So to do that, we go back to the website and you want to click on the plus to add a new section. And now you can add either 3 or 4, however many icons you want. I'm going to do 3 in this case, because when you're on mobile and you're scrolling, 4 can be a little too much. So the first thing you want to do is click on the plus here and you want to search for icon and drag in the icon box. Now you can see if we click on this, there's 2 options. One is the icon library, and they're all kind of a little bit boring, to be honest, because they're just gray. So we also have the option to upload an SVG, and that's just our own icon. So basically, if you go into Canva, create a design 500 by 500, drag in an icon, and then you export that from Canva as an SVG, you'll be able to drag it in here directly. And when you select one of them and click Insert Media, it will drag it in as the icon. And then obviously underneath that, you can just have your heading for this. So let's just say heading 1, and then you can enter whatever description you want here. And once you do that, the next thing is to jump over to style. So in here, we can change the style of the icon. So basically we can change the spacing between the icon and the text, but generally I'll just leave that as is. We can change the size of the icon. You might want to make it a little bit bigger. And then if you go down to content, you can change things like the typography. So you can change, if you have the heading here and you want it to match all the headings on your website, you can do that in here as well. And same with the font. You can change the size and do all of that stuff. Change the color of it as well. Once you have that done, you can just close that down, and then what you want to do is go to the pencil, right click it and duplicate it, click the pencil and drag it into the next one. And then we'll just do that one more time. And now we have our 3 icons. Now if we click on the second one and we just click here, we'll X out of that. We'll click upload SVG and we'll pick one of the ones we uploaded or dragged in earlier on. And we can see it changes it, and now we'll do it with the third one. So now we have our 3 unique icons. One thing we want to do here is add a little bit of space between these 2 things. So to do that, we click the 6 dots, we go to advanced, and we want to add a margin to the top. So we'll add a margin of say 50, just to give a little bit of space. Now this automatically added a 50 to the bottom as well. It depends what you have underneath that, but in most cases it's recommended to keep a little bit of space there as well. Next, we want to start animating this. So to do that, we click on each of them. So I'll click on the first one, the pencil on the first one, and we'll go to advanced. So once you're on advanced, you want to come down to motion effects, and then there's lots of options here that you can play around with. You know, you can do zoom in and stuff like that, but I kind of like, we'll just use fade in up for now. But as I said, go through them. There's loads of them there you can play around with, loads of different animations. So if you have 3 icons moving at the same time, you want them to kind of be subtle, the movement. But if you just have one thing kind of sliding in, you can, if one icon or image that you want to pop out, you can have a slide in from the right or slide in from the left. But for now, we're just going to keep them all fading upwards. So we'll just click motion effects, entrance animation, fade in up, and we'll do it for the third one as well. So if you want to have a preview and see what it looks like, all you need to do is come down to the eye down here and select preview changes, and it will open it in a new tab. So you can see the 3 animations came in there. So one more final animation we can add to these is if you click on any of the pencils and any of the icons and then go to style, we can scroll down and we can select hover. This will allow us to add a hover animation. So if we come down here and we select, say, grow, now once we hover over it, it's going to grow a little bit. Now there's a few others here as well we can select. Let's say bounce in, and then when someone hovers over it, it'll bounce. So you can do that to all 3 icons as well, just to make your website a little bit more interactive and engaging. And as always, when we finish making these changes, we need to come in and make sure we hit update. So as I said, there's lots of different animations you can play around with here, but we're going to move on and add some more sections to the website now. So the next thing we're going to look at here is some global options that we can apply to the website. So we can set some global colors and global fonts and stuff like that, which basically means that they will apply to everything we do on the website. So if we have a blog, or say, this paragraph text will just be uniform and the same across the entire site. So to do that, we just need to navigate back to our homepage. And then up here in the top bar, we want to click customize. And then we have this WordPress dashboard here on the left-hand side, and this will help us customize the features on our website. So what we want to do is select global, and then we go to typography, and then in here you can set whatever you want your base font to be and what you want your heading font to be. When you're just building out a homepage or a landing page, these aren't really as important as when you're building out a blog. If you have a blog, you want to make sure your H2s, which are your subheadings, this would probably be a H2 here, these 3, and this would be a H1 here, which is your primary heading for the website. And this is a secondary one, obviously, and then this would be a paragraph. So you would go in here and you could set whatever you wanted to be the global font for all your headings that are H2s across the website from here on out. And for the paragraph text, you would come into body font here and you would change this. So if I came in here and I played around with the size, it's on 16 there, let's change it to like 25 so you can see a big difference. We can see the paragraph text is now huge, and that means anytime we start a paragraph block, an Elementor, it would always start off with this font size. But I'm going to just bring it back. 16 is generally not a bad size to have it at, but maybe you want to make it a little bit bigger. I'll leave it at 18 for my own one. So you can also change the weight of it as well, so you can make it 10, but it's going to be very hard to read. It depends what you want, what your preferences are. I'll just leave it as normal for here. I just wanted to make you aware of it so you don't have to go in and edit every single paragraph from here on out. You can set a standard for your website. So now we want to just go back and we can scroll down to colors, and it's going to be the same sort of thing. We're setting global colors. So if we want all of our links to say be green, we just do that. And then when it hovers over the link, we can set it to whatever color it's going to be. So we can see then that's changed the color of the links down here. The only link that's on this page right now to green, sorry. So I'm just going to reset that back. And in here as well, you can do things like set the site background. So, let me just show you on brand cut. I've got a very light gray in the background that complements the yellow here. So you can do something like that yourself. If you wanted to do that, you would come in here and you would change the site background color. But let's just go back out of this. And the next thing you can do in here is edit the container. So you can see this one is boxed, content boxed, full width contained, and narrow width. It depends on the type of website you're building. Maybe you want everything to be kind of more narrow and centered in the screen, so you can come in and change this. But it's something I generally do on individual pages. You don't have to do this globally. So I would just leave it unless there's a really specific look that you're going for. And the rest is self-explanatory again. So we just have different type of button presets that we can come in and we can set global buttons. So whenever we add a button, it will always just come in as the default of what we set for the website. But you can also, as I said, just do them manually as well. And then you can duplicate it and drag it wherever you want on the page. If you have a small enough website, these things are not that big of a deal. So let's just go back. And the final thing we're going to look at here is going to be the scroll to top. And that's just when we come down to the bottom of the page, you have this little arrow here that if we click on it, it'll bring us right back to the top of the page. I'm not sure if you want to keep that on or not. There's no harm in it, but if you did, you can obviously change the icon size of it as well, and you can change the color of it. If you wanted it to blend in, of course, and have the same color scheme as the rest of your website. You can also come back to general here, and you can either turn it off on mobile or desktop or keep it on both of them. Okay, so now we're going to jump back over and we're going to start adding some more blocks to this website. So just navigate back to the home page, click Edit with Elementor. And once that loads down, we just want to scroll back down here and click the plus. Next, we want to add a 50/50 section. So we'll choose the second option here. And on the left-hand side, we're going to just add some text. And on the right-hand side, we're going to add either an image or a video. So to do that, we just drag in text. And then again, we click on the 9 dots up here. And then we would drag in a text editor. And then I'll say this is a main feature. And just add some text here to give you an idea how this might look. Now let's just make this a little bit bigger. And we'll do the same for the heading. Say 50. Or 45 is probably better. Okay, now on the right hand side, we want to just search for image. Drag that in. And we could also come back to the first block actually, and what we could add here is one more feature, which will just be something like a button. So then to add an image, you just want to click on this image block over here, and on the left hand side where it says choose image, you want to select that. So obviously I just pulled some images from one of my other websites, so I'm just going to click any of them now, and we want to click select. And now we want to make sure these are both centered. So what we would do is we would click the bookmark here, the edit column section, should I say. And then you want to select vertical align, middle, horizontal align, center. And even though this is taking up the whole block here, we want to do the same. Now if we expand this, we'll get a quick look at what it looks like. Okay, so what we would actually want to do is we want to divide these two sections out. So we would create a background around this to add some contrast. So we click the 6 dots here, we go to advanced, and we want to add a margin to the top and bottom. Sorry, actually we want to add some padding, should I say. So we'd set 50, 50, 50, and 50, so it pushes it in and it pushes it all down, just to center it a little more. If these two things are very close together, so if that happens and you want to divide them out a little further, you come back over here and you would go to layout. And for column gap, we can use something like wider. And we can see there's a little more space between the two of them now. And even if you wanted to get even further, you could click custom and you could create a much larger gap between them. But usually wider will be absolutely fine. So the next thing to do here is click the 6 dots up here if you want to add a background. So we just come into background here, gradient, and of course, we can set a gradient or just set a solid color. Here I'll just do a gradient. So here we'll just use blue and purple gradients just so we're not doing the same again here. Obviously in your own design you can do whatever you want, and I'll play around with it a little bit like it looks better. So usually I just randomly move these around till I get a look that I kind of like. Maybe change the angle. Change the location back. So I kind of like that, so I'm just going to leave it like this for now. And a few more things you can do here to make this look a little bit better is to select this block here. So you select the pencil icon, and this means the image here will have to be, if you do it in Canva or wherever you do it from, it will have to be exported as a PNG with a transparent background for this to work what I'm about to do. So you want to click on the pencil and we want to go to style, and we're going to add a border, but not a physical border. We're going to add a shadow border. So what you want to do here is come to style. So as I said, click on the pencil, come over to style, scroll down, and where we can see box shadow, we want to click on the pencil here. And then we can click whatever color we want. So let's just pick, for now, I'll pick white actually. And you want to make sure so I'll pick white, and then you want to make sure this bar is turned all the way up because this is going to be the transparency of the border shadow, and we want it to actually display prominently. So we'll turn that all the way up as well. We'll choose white here, and then let's click on the pencil again. And you can make it a lot bigger so you'll be able to see it. So we can see there it's working. So maybe we'll change it to 7. We'll blur it a little more. Let's just actually turn it down a little bit. Okay, so that's looking good. Now we're going to jump back over here to the left. We're going to click on this pencil icon here for the header. Now we've done this already, but just to show you again, you click typography, and you could have used the global settings as well. I'm not sure if you have them in. I didn't save them, so I have to come in here and do it manually. So I'll save that to Poppins or whatever you want to do. And let me just make it bold. And then again, we come into the text, we can make some of that bold if we want. If we want to make some words pop out, it also looks a little better because people just skim the website and they focus on the headings and text that pops out. And then we can come down to the button here, and I want to show you a quick trick so we don't have to keep redoing this work. I could go in and edit it whoever I want, obviously, or I could come in here, right click this one and just duplicate it, and then click the pencil, and we could drag it in here. And now all I need to do is right click on this one and delete it. Now this button is centered. It's going to look a lot better if we put it to the left. And generally in the headings, I would have all the main words, capitalized. So I'd have it like this. Let's have a quick look what this looks like. Okay, so it's looking really nice. Now we want to just do a few more things here before we move on. So click back on the pencil on the image, and if you go over to advanced here, we can actually add a animation. So if we click motion effects, we can have an entrance animation. So here I'll choose something like fade in from the right. And the button obviously also has an animation because we just copied it from the work that we've done here earlier on. So what you could also do here if you really wanted, if you didn't want to have a button, you could have this image link out. Now that gets very tricky with user experience because some users won't know that the image is clickable. So usually you want to be very clear about it and you want to leave it as a button. But if for some reason you did want to make the image clickable and go to another page, you click on it, you go back to content, you scroll down, and you can add a link, custom URL. But as I said, you most likely won't be using that. You'll just be using buttons because they're very clear as a call to action. And one last thing I'll say here as well is if you come back up to the main section part, where by clicking the 6 dots and then go to style, you can obviously, instead of having the gradient background, you can click classic, like I showed you earlier, and you can click image and you can add a background image instead. But I think it can be a little too much, and it can also slow down the website if you get too many images loading up when the website starts. So the gradient in most cases is absolutely fine. So the next thing we can do here is we can duplicate this. And then if we come down here, we can actually just switch these features around. So you click here where it says edit column and you drag this to the left. You click on the image, you go back to your images, and you'll add a different image in this time. So we'll just say here, this is main feature 2. Say this is main feature 1. And then if we scroll down, obviously these two are clashing, which doesn't look fantastic. So what we can do here is click on the 6 dots, go to style, and then you want to just click on this color, take note of the hex code here. So I'll just copy that and I'll paste it into the bar so I don't lose it. So it's up here. And then I'll come down to the purple and I'll copy this purple and I'll just switch them basically. That's all I'm doing here. So I come down here and then I will paste the blue in. Now we can see if we expand this section looks a lot more cohesive. So if you don't want these two elements together, what you can actually do is you can click the plus again, you can click the plus once more, and then we'll have a full width section. And now we want to go up to the 9 dots up here and click on that. And then in here, you could add something like a testimonial if you want, which we're going to do in the next step. Okay, so there's a few ways we can add testimonials to our website. Obviously, you can use third-party tools like testimonial.to. They actually have a really nice free trial as well. And you can get a plugin there, I think, that you can then just embed onto these sections. I might do that in a later video, but for now, we're just going to keep it very simple. So what we want to do is, like we're adding any other block, you want to click on the plus, you want to come over to the left-hand side, and we want to search for testimonial. Now we can see there's 2 options here. One is the paid one, which will give us a really nice carousel, and the other is actually just going to be a single individual testimonial. So for now, unless you want to go looking for fancy plugins, we're going to just use this one. So let's just drag that block in. And here we just want to add the image of the person, and we click on choose image. I'll obviously just use my own profile image here as an example, and then we'll just change the text, make it a little bit smaller. So obviously just paste in whatever testimonials you have yourself. And then image, we'll leave it as full for now. Name, obviously we'll just change it to whatever it is. Maybe you don't know the title of the person, you can actually just remove this section as well if you want. In most cases, the best thing to do here is actually to put if they have a handle for any of their social medias. So I'll just use my own for now. So we'll just do @ sorry. And then we come down to link, and you want to paste a link to the social channel as well. So next we just want to scroll up and we want to go to style. Actually, before style, we'll click on advanced and we'll put a little bit of spacing in between this. So we'll put 50 at the top and 50 at the bottom. And now we're going to, sorry, let me just remove this. Actually, we can leave 50 all around, so it pushes it in a little bit more. And next we're going to click on style. And then we want to click on typography and we want to just make it a little bit bigger. So let's just change it to 30. And one thing here I'll actually do is go back to content and we'll put these around them. There we go. Looks a lot better. Now let's go back to style. Here we want to click on image, change the image size. We make it a little bit bigger. We can add a border type to it as well, so we can put a nice border around it. So what color will we use? Maybe we'll use the same purple that we used here. So we'll click on those 6 dots. We'll get that purple color. We'll come down and let's click on this. Click on image. And then we come down to color here under border. So we'll just change that to the purple. Now we're also going to want to change the color of the name. So we'll go text color. Change that to purple. Come back down, title. We'll do it once more. Sorry, color. And obviously we want to make this text a lot bigger as well. So we go into typography for each of them and we'll set it to say 20. In fact, as I'm going along here, I don't even like the name being here at all. I think it's pretty better just to have the handle. As I said, you probably will be using third-party software for this, but just to get going at the start, you can just do it like this. So the very last thing I actually want to do here now, just to make this look a little bit nicer, is go back down to title here, and I do want to make this a little bit bigger, so I'm going to just do 25, I think. So one more thing we can do here to add a little more to the design is to click on the top section here. So click on the 6 dots, so we select this entire section, and now we want to go down to border. Sorry, we want to go down to shape divider, should I say, and we want to click on bottom, and we're going to add a shape divider to the bottom. So we'll add the mountains here, and maybe we'll just fix the width a little bit, so, or say the height actually. We can leave it like that. Let's just expand and see what it looks like. So it needs a little more padding down the bottom here. So to do that, we just open this back up. We want to make sure we have this entire section selected. We'll go to advanced. And you want to unlink these values. And we'll change the bottom to 150. And now we can see it's looking a lot better. And then we want to go back and we want to go to the second section. Click the 6 dots. Scroll down again, go to shape divider, and this one we will add to the top, and we'll add mountains again. And we can change the height as well, so they're not so severe. And once again, we might need a little more space here, so what we do in that situation is go and expand this, go to advanced. Make sure we have this selected as well, obviously. We go to advanced, and then we want to add the padding to the top. So to do that, we unlink them once more. And then we'll add 150 to the top. So it pushes this down a little bit more and gives us a little more space. So the very final thing we're actually going to do on this is, let's just go back here and we click on the link. So we can see we have the link that's going to Twitter. So it's great social proof when somebody comes onto the website and they see a review, you don't know if it's a lie or whether it's true. So the easiest way to let them know it's true is by linking out to social media accounts. So once we have the link in, we want to click on this cog here beside it that says link options, and we want to make sure open in new window is selected, and then click update. This means that when they click on it, it won't take them off our page. It's going to open a new tab that they'll be able to browse. You want to do that with all of your external links. So let's just expand this, and if we scroll through, well, let's actually just look at it in the preview. So we'll come down to the eye down here and we'll select preview changes, and that will open a new tab. Okay, so now if we scroll down, we'll see where we're at with this. And if we click on the link, it's going to open Twitter. So that's exactly what we're looking for. Now we're going to look at adding your newsletter form. So to do that, we just click on the plus here and we want to do a full width. And we're going to click the plus again. Now, if we search for forms here, these are all blocked off. So if you want to pay for Elementor, you'll get a much better variety of forms. So you can see on this website here, I've got this form. So you get those type of forms when you're upgrading or paying. But for now, if you just want someone to sign up to your newsletter, as I said earlier, you just search for HTML, you drag it in, and you drag it in, And then as a workaround, you go to something like Substack or whoever you want to sign up with. They're all going to have the same thing. And most of them will. And you find your embed code, you come back and you embed it, and then you have your Substack newsletter. Now, there's something else we can do if you wanted to set up, say, a contact form. And I'm going to show you how to do that now. So let's just click the plus again and start a new section. And we'll do a full width section here as well. And we click the plus. Now, if we search for contact, nothing will show up. So what we need to do is go back to our dashboard. So to do that, we'll just click update first to save our work. And then we want to click on the menu in the top left and go to exit. Click on the W to get back to the dashboard, scroll down to plugins and click on add new. Here we want to install contact form by WP form. So let's just install that. And we want to activate it. And now let's jump back to our homepage. And next we want to click edit with Elementor. And when this loads up, we just scroll all the way back down again and we want to click on our new section. And now we want to search for form. And we can see there's been a new widget added, WP form. So we're going to drag that in here. And then once we drag that in, we can see it's prompting us to create our first form. So we just want to click on create a form. Now in here, there's a lot of options to choose from. So we're just going to click on, say, probably simple contact form for now. The difference is that this lets somebody leave a comment or a message. And this is for a newsletter, but we can already, as I said, we can use something like Substack for that because it looks a little better. Now, if you really wanted, you could use one of these as well and just remove the heading field, the name field, and just have email. But personally, I think having it going locked into your tied into your Substack or whatever third-party platform you're using is quite helpful. So you can leave it on for now unless you're willing to upgrade to Elementor, as I mentioned. So for now, we'll just use the simple contact form and click Use Template. So once that loads up, we can keep whatever fields we want or remove whatever fields we want here. We can say we click on the email one here. We can make sure it's required, which it is by default. You can click on to enable email confirmation as well. I'm not sure whether you want to do that. That's just to make sure you don't put the wrong email in. I'm going to leave that off for now. The next thing you can do is come down to settings down here and you can change the name of the form. So obviously you don't want to call a simple contact form. You can say get in touch, or you could say request a price if you're running a service type business. So let's just add a form description as well here in case you want to use that. So obviously you'll do something better here, but I just have leave a message and we'll get in touch as soon as we're back online. And the submit button, you can say submit, or you can just say send it, whatever you want really. So the next thing you want to do is come down to notifications down here. Well, actually you can come into spam protection as well. If you want to turn on captchas and stuff like that. For this one, you need to go to Pro. I think they probably have this captcha for free, but we're not going to get into that right now. So the next thing you want to do is go down to notifications down here. So here you can enter the email address that gets notified when somebody uses the contact form. Here you can add the subject line. So we can just add the name of your website, contact form. From name shows who it's coming from. So maybe you want to use your own name here, or you want to just stick to the name of the website. And then the admin email, that's going to be the email address. Then that'll be whatever email address you set up in the earlier stages when we were setting up our email addresses for our website. So once all of that is in, you just want to click save. And now we can X out of that. Now we can see it's added our contact form here, but it's missing a few things that we added ourselves. So we go to display options. We can then show the title and we can show the description that we added as well. Okay, so now we have a contact form here and we also have our newsletter sign up. We want to do something else here. We want to click this plus again and we want to divide this into two sections. And if you click on the pencil icon, you can drag this into here. Now you can see it looks a little bit better because it's not taking up way too much space. And if we click on the plus here, we can of course add some stuff into this section, like we can add a heading in. And then we can add a text editor in, like we always do. And then if we click on edit column here and go to vertical align, put it in the middle, horizontal align and center that. And let's just change this. Just change the heading to a call to action just to reinforce this contact form here. We go to style, we go to typography and we'll make it a lot bigger. Change the text, make that a lot bigger as well. 25 maybe here. Okay, let's just expand that and see what it looks like. So we probably want to put a little more space in between these two. And if you wanted, you could put an image underneath here as well. So I'll show you how to do that. We click on edit column. For the layout, we will just go to, 1 second, sorry. We'll actually click on the main section here, the 6 dots up here, because we're editing this width between these 2 sections. So we need to edit the entire column. So we'll click on that, and then we'll come down to column gap, and we'll select wider. Okay, that's looking a lot better there. Then there's a few things we can do to make this look a little bit better. So we could add a border around it. Obviously, you could change the whole background color if you want, but let's just keep it simple here. I don't think I've actually showed you how to do the borders yet, so this would be a good time to do it. So we just click on the entire section down here, and you come over to border. And then you want to select border type. So you go to style, should I say, under edit section, style, border, and then we come down to border type. And there's a few options here, but you can just stick with solid for now. Obviously, play around with whatever ones you want. And then we can change the width of the border, so we can set it to 10, or we can set it to whatever we want. Depends on how thick we want it. Let's just leave it at 3 now, just leave it very subtle. Now, the next thing we can do here, if we wanted, we could add a border radius. So this just kind of adds a round edge to it. So you can see it's added some round edges there. For now, I'm actually just going to leave it as flat. I'm going to leave the color as black as well. But one thing I will do is I'll add a box shadow to it. So if we come down here, we can change this color to whatever we want. Now, if this was purple, for example, you would change it to complement that, or obviously whatever design you really want to do, whatever your branding calls for. But let's just change this to purple for the moment, so we can show you. And then we'll move the spread up to make it a little bit larger. We'll blur it. Move it down. Okay, let's have a little look, see what that looks like. Okay, so I'm not a big fan of the black and the purple there, so I'll just leave it all as purple. So we'll come back in here, so 1 second. We'll click on the section, we'll go to box shadow, and I want to take the purple that we have here, this color. So we just copy that, and now I want to actually set the entire border to that. I don't want the black border, I want it all to be purple. So I'll make the border purple as well. So just paste that in. Let's go back out here. And we can see the border is being made purple, and it's got this purple glow around it as well. So you can just play around with that yourself. Obviously, this doesn't look exactly how I'd probably have it the finished one myself. I'd probably play around with the colors a little more, but I don't want to waste too much time here. So you get the idea. Obviously, let's just really quickly, you could just change this to black, for example. It'd be the easiest thing to do. Box shadow, change that to black as well. And then we can see that's just how simple you can make the edits, you know. This just adds a little more dimension to the page. Okay, so now we have our contact form in and our subscription box in. So we're going to move on to the next step. So here I'm going to show you how to add an FAQ and some tabs that you can display information on. So to do that, we click on the plus and we do a full width. Now we want to click on the plus again, or we can click on the 9 dots up here, and then we want to search for the word tab. And we get a bunch of options here, but 3 of them are locked. Here, luckily, the ones we need are actually not locked. They're all included in the free version. So we click on tabs and we drag that in. Now, one thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to click on this section. I'm going to put a bit of space in between these two. As we always should, I'm going to put a margin of 100 on the top and 100 on the bottom just to move it down here and make it look a little bit cleaner. And now we can see we got these 2 tabs here that we can switch back and forth from. Now, once we're in here by either clicking the pencil icon or clicking on any of the tabs, we can see we have this area here which we can make our edits. So all we need to do to add more items is just click add item. So here maybe, obviously this isn't like an FAQ, you could have something like shipping, returns, about, or whatever you want in there. Something, if you're selling products or something like that, you can add a couple of descriptions in here, you know. It's not going to be a full FAQ because you can't put a lot of text into these tabs. But what you can do is just add, just like small snippets of information. It's perfect for that sort of thing. Now, there's another thing you can do here. This is the horizontal version. You can click on this and you can do a vertical one as well. So you can see people can then switch between the 3 of them. Let me just change the text in the second one there so you get a better idea. So there, we can see they're all very different. So people can switch between them there. So for now, I'm actually just going to leave it as horizontal. And then the next thing we can do is we can go over to style. And then here, like everywhere else, we can add our styling. So we can click on border width here, and if we expand this, you can really see what it looks like. So it just emphasizes the highlighted one. So let's leave this on, I don't know, 3 for now. We'll go down to border color. We'll change that to whatever we want. Let's leave it as black for now. And then we can change the background color in here as well, which I'll probably just leave this blank, but just to give you an idea, because you can obviously play around with your own theme, you might be able to make it even just a slight bit darker there, just to emphasize that it's actually being clicked on. Okay, so now we can rotate between these and we can see it's selecting each one individually. Some other things we can do, like everywhere else on Elementor, is change the typography. So we can change the heading to 30. We can obviously come in and change the color of that as well. So say we wanted it to be red, and then only once it's clicked on, it would be black. So when you click on them, it switches. Sorry, let me just see. In fact, I'll just leave it as black, and then when they're, I'll just leave it as black for now. And then once they're clicked on, we'll set them to a dark blue. So let's move on here, and I'm going to show you a way of adding the FAQ. So now we want to click on the plus again and add a new section. Click on the 9 dots up here. And again, we want to search for accordion here. Now we can see it's given us two options. It's given us toggle and accordion. So I'm going to show you both of them. They're both very similar. So this is the accordion, and let's add another section. And toggle is, as you can see, they both look very similar. So for now, we're just going to focus on accordion. That's absolutely fine. Let me just remove the toggle. And before we continue here, something else I will do is click on these 9 dots, and we want to add a heading. And I'm going to center that, and I'm just going to call it FAQ. And we can make that a lot bigger. Obviously, we can do whatever we want with it. So let's just change it to 40, or let's just change it to, a lot higher. Let's change it to 60, and we'll make it bold. Okay, now once we click on the accordion down here, it's going to open up this section here, which is very similar to the tabs that we used a moment ago. A lot of the design elements are similar, so we just click on add item if we want a third item, and we can see it's added a third one there, and these are just going to be our questions. So if you click on the first one, you just go, what is your return policy? And then you add your text in, whatever you want. And obviously you just go through them and you do it for each one. So it's very simple to get this set up. And then obviously another thing you can do is you can add icons. Like earlier on, we can upload our own SVG that we get from somewhere online, or we can, obviously you can have no icon if you want, or you can use the icon library. Here the icon library is probably actually fine. You can change it to something like this. Just let them know that they should click and expand it, but the plus does the exact same thing. So let's go back here. Now, this is giving us the recommended ones. We can also click on all icons, and this gives us a lot more options. So we can search for something like question. We can click on this, insert it, and we can see now it's added the question mark to the left-hand side. Another useful thing we can do here, now this is kind of getting into SEO a bit. If you turn on FAQ schema, it just means that Google will recognize this as an FAQ, and you might get in the featured section on Google, so there's no harm in turning that on. So next what we're going to do is we're going to look at the styling of this. So you just come up here and you click on style. Now in here we can just click on border width, so we can set this to something like 3. We can change the color of it obviously. Let's just change it to black. And we'll actually make it a little bit smaller. We'll set it to 1. So next you want to come down to title here, and we can change a lot of things in here as well. Obviously the background we can change in here. I'm just going to show you quickly. I'm not going to leave it as this though. So you can change the background. If you did want, actually what we could do here is just to break things up a little bit. We could set this as, let me see. Kind of as a dark gray, and then what we would do in this situation is we'd come in to the typography. Sorry, actually what we would do is we'd come into the content first, and we want to change the typography here. So we click on typography. Actually, no, not typography. Sorry, what we do is we click on color, and we set the color of this to white. And then we go into typography and we'd make it a lot bigger. So we'd say 25. And then we come down to the icon down here, and we can obviously change the color of this if we want, but for now we're going to leave that as white as well. We can move it to the right as well, or we can, so it comes all the way down here. Whatever your preference is, I'm going to leave it to the left. We can add a little more spacing in between them. And then finally, we can click on content. In here, we can change the background color. We're not going to want to do that in this situation. We can also click on typography, and we will want to change that to something like 25. And as I've changed that, they both look pretty much the same size. So we're going to want to fix that. We want our headings obviously to be a little bit bigger. So let me just come back up here to title, typography, and change that one to 35. Or 30. 30 looks a little bit better. Okay, now we can click through some of these and see what our FAQ looks like. It's actually looking pretty good. And as I said, you can come in here and you can either duplicate these and then just rename them, reword them, or you can actually just click on, add more items. So one final thing here, just to make this look a little bit better, you wouldn't really have the black border, now we have the black background. So to fix that, I would just go to style and then I go to border color and you change it. And obviously in your own designs, you'll play around with these and you'll change things a lot. Your design preferences are going to be a lot different. So if we expand this out here and have a quick look, we can see the FAQ is looking good. And the tab section up here as well looks pretty good. So you might not even need either of these on your website, obviously, but it's definitely good to know how to implement them if it's something you do want to add. An FAQ is always a useful feature on any website. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a pricing table in Elementor. Now, obviously, if you're paying for a premium Elementor, you could just come down here and when you add a new section, you could click on this folder and you just search for price. Actually, pricing would be better. And you can see you can import any of these and you're 90% of the way there. But if you don't have the premium, I'm going to show you a workaround that we can do. So let's just X out of that and go back here. Now, I'm actually just going to move this one out of the way, this one that I made earlier. And I'm going to show you how to do this from scratch. So you want to come down here, click the plus, and then you want to divide it into 3 sections. Next, you want to click on these 9 dots up here, and we want to drag a heading into the middle section. And let's just call this pricing, and we want to put it in the center. Now we're going to duplicate this a few times. So obviously you can do whatever you want with the styling here, but I'm going to keep this simple enough. We're going to click on the top one and we're going to go to style and then we're going to click on typography. And we're going to make this, let's just see, 50 for now. Next, we want to click on the second heading and we want to come over to content and we want to change this to a H6, which is just going to make it a smaller heading here. And we're going to call this one. Actually, do you know what? Maybe we'll set it to a H5 and see what that looks like. It's slightly bigger. We'll leave it as a H5 and we'll call this one full package. These are just placeholders for your own stuff, obviously. Now for the third one, we're going to set the price. So we're going to say $50 and we go back to style and we click on typography. And we'll change this to, let's say, 70. Okay, so now we want to move on to the next one, the fourth one here, and when we click on that, we want to come back to content here, and we want to change this to a H5. So we're going to click on HTML tag and change that to H5. Okay, now next we want to click on these 9 dots up here again, and we're going to drag in a text editor section. So you want to drag that in just below pricing. And here we just want to paste in our features. And after that, we want to resize them. So we just go back to style here, and we click on typography, and we'll change them to say 22. And then we want to just align it to the center. Now, one more thing we can do here to spread these out a little more is go back to typography. And if we scroll down, we can see the line height and we can move that. So we can put a little bit more space in between this. So let's just leave this as 35. Now, the final thing we want to add here before we start designing this is a button. So we need to click on these 9 dots up here again, and we want to search for button, or we can see it here and just drag it straight in. So that's one way of doing it. I'm going to show you another way. Let me just remove that button. As I mentioned earlier, you can go back to any of your older buttons and you can just duplicate it and you can drag it in as well, just to save yourself a bit of work. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is click on the pricing one here. And if we go to advanced, we want to set a margin. So first unlink these values by clicking on the link symbol here. And then on top, we want to do -20, or let's go -30. Just to bring it a little closer to the 50 there, to the $50 or whatever pricing you have. And now we want to go over to style, we want to go typography, and we want to change the weight of it, and we'll change the weight of it to light. Now the next thing we can do to design this a little more is to click on the pricing, and we want to go typography, and we want to change the weight of that as well to bold, or maybe black actually. So now we're going to start adding the background and the border here. But before we start that, you want to click on the 6 dots up here and you want to put a bit of space between this section and this section. So we need to put a margin there. So you can do either 50 or 100. I'll do 100 now. And now what we want to do is click on edit column here. And then we go to style. And we want to set our background type. So we can leave this as a plain color, or we can do it as a gradient. I'm going to do it as a gradient. Okay, so just so I don't spend all day playing around with this, I'm just going to settle for this for now. Obviously, the ones up here are just blue, 2 shades of blue. You can do whatever you want for the background, obviously, whatever design you want your website to be. Now, so I'm going to leave it at that. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to select this text, and we're going to go to style and text color, and we're going to change that to white. And we're going to do this for all of them. So we're going to go to pricing, text color, white, full package, style, text color white, pricing, and the price. So the next thing we're going to do is add our border. So we want to click on edit column up here. We want to scroll down and click on border. And in here, we want to enter our border radius. So I'm going to select something like 60 for now. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do here is bring this button a little closer to the text. So we just click on the button here and we want to unlink these values. So we click on the button, we go to advanced. And as I said, we want to make sure these are unlinked. And for the margin, we want to add a margin of -30. So it pulls the button a little bit closer here. Next, we want to put a little bit more space at the top and the bottom. So to do that, we click on edit column. We go to advanced. We want to unlink the padding here. And we want to do 30 from the top and 30 from the bottom. The final thing we want to do here is add a bit of dimension to it. So we want to click on the edit column symbol. We want to go to style, come back down to border, and then select box shadow. And for now, I'm going to leave this as black. Let me just make it a little less transparent so you can actually see it a little more. So we're just adding a slight shadow border around it. So depending on what sort of price structure you have for your website, you might want a few different options. And if you do, all you need to do is right click on this here, right click on edit column and select duplicate. And then just click on any of the other blank columns here and then just delete one of those. And we'll do that one more time. And then we'll just delete the first one here. And if you did just have one product, I'll show you what you could do there. You could just obviously remove two of these. You could start a new section and have a 50-50, and then you would just drag this into here. So we click on edit column, we drag it down. We're going to have to remove one of these as well. So we'll just remove the middle one. And then over here, obviously, you can have a product image or something like that. But for now, I'm just going to leave it as the 3 pricing options. And the very last thing you might want to do here, let's just expand this quickly so you can see there's no space in between them. Maybe you want to add a little bit of space. And if you want to do that, all you need to do is open it up, click on edit column on any of them, say the first one here, and we just set the margin. We can leave them all linked and we can just set it to say 5. Oh, sorry, that's 50. We can set it to, let's just set it to 10. And we can see it's put a little bit of space there. And then we'll do it on the third one. We'll go advanced. So edit column, obviously, so we click on this, we go advanced, and then we go 10. Now they're not linked, so let me just link them together. There we go. Now let's just expand this out and see what it looks like. That looks 100 times better because you might want to emphasize the middle one as the default product, which is a good pricing strategy. So it's good to have this one a little bit larger if that is the case. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at is how to make a menu. So to do that, all you need to do is go to your WordPress dashboard and you want to scroll down to appearance and then click on menus. And in here, we want to name our menu. So we have menu name, we'll just call it main menu and click create. Okay, so if you have some pages on your website apart from the home page, you'll see them here under pages. So we don't have any more here, we haven't made any. So I'm going to just click on sample page and add that to the menu. So if you had something like a contact page, you would just add it in here as well. But I'm going to show you a nice workaround for this because people don't really like navigating off the landing page for things like contacting. It's a very old school method to get someone to an entirely new contact page. So we're going to keep everything on the one page, but we're still going to have a menu. So I'm going to leave the sample page in there just for now so I can show you once we go back to the home page how it looks and how it will navigate. But what we're focusing on here is the custom links. So what you want to do is go back to your home page and see all of the sections on it, the most important ones. So let's just pick, let's pick this one, the newsletter one. And we'll come back here and we're going to type in hashtag newsletter. And for the link text, we're going to do newsletter. And click add to menu. And then we'll come back to the home page, we'll scroll down and we'll see contact. So we'll come back here and we'll do hashtag contact. And then the link text, of course, will be contact and we'll click add to menu. Now let's jump back. And let's just take FAQ and pricing. So hashtag FAQ, FAQ, hashtag pricing, add to menu. Okay, now we just need to click save menu. So before we move on here, I'm actually going to remove the sample page, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag in, because we did create a blog page at the start of this, so I'll drag in the blog page instead, and we'll click add to menu. Now with all those in, all we need to do is click on save menu. Okay, so let's jump back over to our website, and next what we want to do is click on customize. And then we want to scroll down to menus, click on main menu, and we want to scroll down here, and we want our menu to show up as our primary menu. And then we can also put it as our footer menu as well if we want to display a footer menu later on. So for now, we don't actually have any footers enabled, so that's fine. But up here, we can see it's added our links. So next, we just need to click publish. And now we just want to go back to our home page. So let me just go back. Okay, so now if we click on any of these, nothing is going to happen, but we can see it's trying to access them. So what we need to do is go to edit with Elementor. Now we need to scroll down to the corresponding sections. So we have newsletter here. So the newsletter shows up down here. And we want to click the plus because we need to add a new block. So click the plus, a full width block, and then click the plus again, or you can go to the 9 dots and we search anchor. And then we drag in a menu anchor. And here we just type in newsletter. And we click update. Now you want to preview your changes. This is just going to your homepage basically. And when you click it, it will bring you automatically down to the newsletter section. So now we want to go back here and we want to we can duplicate this or we can make a new one. So we need to do contact, FAQ, and pricing next. So we go down to the contact form. We do it here. We set up a new section. We search for anchor. Drag it in. And this one is called contact. Click update. Now this is getting pulled because we did tell these earlier on that it's going to search for the word newsletter or the anchor newsletter. So when we click on it, when we were setting up our menu, we told it to do that by doing hashtag newsletter. And now it's just going to bring us to whatever is called newsletter down there. And this one obviously will bring us down to contact. So let me actually just right click this whole section and I'm going to duplicate it. When I say the whole section, it's just the anchor. So I'm going to drag this one down to the FAQ. Click on it. And over here, I'm going to update the ID to FAQ. And now we just need to do it one more time. So we'll just right click the whole section, click duplicate. We'll drag it down. And we're going to call this one pricing, obviously. And just click update. So now let's have a quick preview of our changes. So we click the eye down here and it will bring us to a preview of our homepage. Okay, so now once this preview opens, all we need to do is click on any of them. So we click newsletter here, brings us to the newsletter. Contact will bring us down to the contact page. FAQ, all the way down to the FAQ, and the pricing will bring us down to here. And finally, if we scroll up, we have blog over here as well. If we click on that, that's going to take us off the page and onto a new page. Now, if you start creating posts, your posts will start displaying in here. And if you do have a couple of pages on the website like this, it can be helpful to have a home page here as well. Obviously, people can just click here on your logo or icon, which we'll add in a bit, and they can get to your home page. And if you did want to do that, we can jump back over to the menu. We go to pages, view all, home, and just click add to menu. And then we want to click save menu. And now we can see we have home added here as well. So we click any of them and it's going to bring us down. We click blog, it's going to bring us off. And then obviously we click home, it's going to bring us all the way back to the home page. Okay, so the next two things we're going to do now are to add our fav icon and our logo. You know, obviously the logo goes up here or we put it in the center. It depends how we're going to do our header later on. But the fav icon, in case you don't know what that is, if you open a new tab, so let me just open one here. So here beside the WFH tribe, we got the WordPress symbol, but on brand cut, you can see it's very small there. But if you're on mobile or another device, you'll be able to see this more prominently. This is just your logo basically, or you can put another image here, but in most cases it's fine just to drag a symbol in or your logo or something like that. So let's just jump back over to the website. Now we want to click on customize. So the first thing we're going to do is to install this fav icon, as they call them. So we scroll down to site identity and we click select site icon. So this should be 512 times 512 pixels, ideally. Now I do have a logo here, a very crude logo that I made on Canva. It's just text, but you can see here, this is 500 by 500. This will do absolutely fine. Obviously, if you wanted to put in an image like this, that'd be completely fine as well. For now, I'm just going to click on the logo that I made and I'm going to click select. Now the next thing you want to do is just click on skip cropping and then click publish. Okay, we can see here in the preview window, let me see if I can zoom in. That's kind of how it's going to look in the browser. You can see right there. Let's just zoom out and I'm going to go back. Now we're going to add our site logo. Now there's a couple of ways we can do this depending on how we're going to build our header. This is probably the easiest way. I'm going to show you this way in anyway. So we just click on header builder here. And you want to click site, title and logo. And in here we want to click select logo. Now we click the logo that we made in Canva. It's 500 by 500 pixels. And we click select. Now we can see it's automatically cropped this for us, which is perfect. And if it hasn't, you can just crop it this way yourself because you don't want too much white space above or below it. And then we click on crop image. Okay, so now we can see a few obvious problems. It's way too big up here. So what we want to do is click on logo width and we want to reduce that. Let's do 250. Or maybe a little lower, let's say 220. So we can see it's also showing the site title here. So all we need to do to get rid of that is just to come down to site title visibility and click on all of these. So it turns it off on desktop, tablet and mobile. Okay, and we can see in here, if we scroll down even further, there's a few other things we can do. It has our tagline here. We don't want the tagline to display up here, obviously. And the last thing is, this is just the site icon that we set a moment ago. So if you come down here, and if you didn't set it already, you can come in and click that, and it'll bring you right back there. So let's just go back, and we have the logo in now, so we just need to click publish. Okay, so now we're going to look at customizing our header up here. So to begin with that, we click on customize in the top left. Okay, so once we're in here, we need to scroll down to header builder, and there's a couple of options in here. There's a transparent header option, which we're going to look at in a minute. So we want to go back to elements here, and then we want to click on primary menu. And in here, we want to click on design. Now, the only real alterations we can make in here are to change the font size and the font color. So to do that, all we need to do is go to menu font, click on the pencil. We can change the font family if we want, and then you can come here and you can change the size. So let's just change it to something like 22. So next we can see under text link, this is going to be the text link for the, if we click on this symbol here, it's going to rotate us between the desktop version, the tablet version and the mobile version. So we're going to leave it on the desktop version for now. If you did want to change the color of this, as you can see, I'm hovering over it now and it's blue when you hover over it. So to do that, we just click on the second option here, which is to hover. And if we change this, let's just say to green, and we hover over, we can see it will then change to green, but I'm going to just put this back. And the third one is for the active one. So whatever one is being clicked, which is this one here, if you change the color of that, you can see it will then change whatever one is active to that color. So we're going to turn that back. And just to have the default when they're not, when you're not hovering over them, or if it's not selected, you click the first one here, of course, and you can just change the color there. So you see they're all changing to blue. So I'm just going to just revert that back as well. So there's just one or two more things we can do with this. As I said, we can't edit this too much because we're on the free version of both Astra, the theme, and the free version of Elementor. If you pay to upgrade either of those, you'll have a lot more options. If you were going to go at one, I'd say upgrade Elementor because you can really add some nice header bars, but you don't need to when you're starting out with your website first. So just to show you a couple more things we can do with this. When you come down here, you can rearrange where these elements show up. So if you wanted to have your logo in the middle, for example, and you wanted to have maybe your menu to the left, and then over here you wanted to add something like a button, you just click the plus and you add button. So you can click the plus here, and as you can see, you can add a few different things. If you've got a login feature on the website, you can do that, and someone can click there and log in. So let's just X that. Okay, so for now, I'm just going to drag this back over here, put the logo back here, and we'll put the menu back in the middle. Sorry, that's the button. Let's drag the menu into the middle there. So if you wanted to design that button, obviously you just click on button here and you can call it whatever you want. So we'll call this sign up. Then you can put a link there as well. And then over here, you can click design and you can design the button however you want, just like we've done any of the other buttons on the website. So for now, I'm going to leave that as it is. And if you want to have a header like that, that's absolutely fine. But now I'm going to show you how we can make a transparent header. So we just need to go back, go down to header builder and select transparent header. And next you want to click enable on complete website. So you can disable it on particular pages like blog pages and 404 pages and stuff like that. But for now, we're just going to leave it on complete website. We're going to leave it enabled on both desktop and mobile. And we're going to leave this. We don't need a different logo for the transparent header. So next we want to click design. So in here, we might want to change the color of these. We could probably change them to white. I'm just going to have a quick look and see what that looks like. So we'll click text when it's normal and then text when it's active or when it's hovered over. So first we click this one. I'll select white. So actually the white is contrasting a little too much with the black, so I'm going to go back in here and I'm going to change this to a dark gray. And then you can play around with what it's going to be like when it's hovered over, so obviously you can change this to whatever color you want. I'm going to just leave this as probably a lighter shade of black. No, actually I'll do it a little bit darker, sorry, 1 second. Okay, so it's very similar, you can't really notice it, but you can play around whatever color scheme your website is, you can play around with that yourself there. So now the next thing we're going to do is come down to button here, and obviously we can do the same. We can change the button background color, so we can change this to black as well. And obviously again, the hover button here, we can change that to whatever color we want, so I'm just going to leave this as a gray. So when it hovers over, you can see it changes color. And now we're going to have a quick look, and we're going to see what this looks like on mobile. It's probably not going to look great, but I'm going to show you a fix for it. So we can see it's all squished up there on mobile, so we're going to fix that now. So to fix it on mobile, we're going to actually need to navigate back to our home page. So we're just going to go back here. We're going to just click publish first of all. So if you want to save your work, you click publish, and let's go back to the home page. Once we're back on the home page, we need to click edit with Elementor. And we can see this header down here is going to be the desktop one, and this one up here is the hidden one, which is the mobile one. So we want to click on the 6 dots here for desktop. We want to go to advanced. Now we want to unlink these values under padding. And we want to make the top padding about 200. No, sorry, 200, yeah. 200 should be okay. And then we want to click update. Then you want to jump over to mobile. We click the 6 dots. We come over to advanced. We unlink the padding. And we'll set this one to maybe 80 for now. And we'll see. We might have to come back in and play around with this, but 80 should be okay. And then we click update. Then you want to click on preview changes. And we can see there's way too much space here on the desktop one. So you want to go back to edit, and let's just go back to desktop. And let's just set this padding here to, sorry, I didn't realize they're actually all linked together. So let's unlink them here, sorry. And we're going to set this one to maybe 120, should be okay. From the right, we'll leave it as it is, but from the bottom, there's too much space there. So we'll just do 100 from the bottom as well. Now let's have a quick look. So that's looking a lot better. Now let's have a look at the mobile version. So we'll come down here, we'll click mobile. And then we just want to expand again and have a look, see what it looks like. Okay, so it all fits in okay here. So what we want to do is we want to actually change how this menu looks. So to do that, we're going to click on this again. We're going to update, and we're going to jump back over to our home page. So just get off Elementor. And then we want to click customize. Okay, go back to header builder, go back down to transparent header, and we want to select the mobile option, and then go over to design. Then we want to select transparent header, and then over here on the right hand side, we want to click, first of all, we click site title and logo, because it's a little bit too big here for the mobile. So we just want to lower this down a little bit. Okay, 1 second. We'll set it to maybe 180. Next, you want to select toggle button. And there's 3 options here. We can change it to this one, which is a little bit thicker, or we can change it to the 3 dots. I'm going to leave it as the thicker one in the middle here, actually. And then we can change the style of it as well. So that one actually looks probably a little bit better. We can also add an outline to it. I'm going to leave it as fill. And then we go over to design. And I'm going to just change the color of that, actually. I'll change it to dark gray. And one more thing. We're on size 20 there, so I'll just change it to 25. Perfect, so that's looking a lot better. One more thing we want to do here is just click on this icon here, this cog, and we want to edit the height. It might look okay, but I want to just push it down a little bit here. So we're on 60, so if I move this, it will move it down just a small bit. Now we're going to publish that, and we're going to take a look. So let's jump back to our homepage one last time. Looking good on desktop. We're going to click edit with Elementor, just so we can see what it looks like on mobile. Okay, we expand this out. Okay, so it's looking good. I might push this down a little bit more. So just one last thing. So we'll just click on the 6 dots again, come over to advanced, and I'm going to just change this to 100. Okay, perfect. So now we can see when we're on mobile, if we tap this menu, it's going to open the menu up for us. Okay, so next we're going to take a look at editing our footer. So if we come all the way down here, we can see it says copyright 2023 WFH Tribe powered by Astro WordPress Themes. We want to remove that. So we come over to customize. And then on the left here, we want to select footer builder. Now again, on the free versions, there's not a massive amount of options here. There's a couple of very, very basic design options. And if we come over to elements, we can only change the copyright. So we can actually click it down here as well. And it's just the text. So all we need to do is we can just remove that, or we can say, yeah, we can just remove it actually. Now it just says copyright at your website. Now you can also, if you really wanted, you could add other things in here as well. So you just click on any of them. You can add some HTML, you can add some widgets, and you can add a footer menu. So the footer menu is just another navigation menu here. But you know, you probably don't even, at the start, you don't really need to add anything into a footer unless you've got a big website with a lot going on. You're not going to need anything more than this. And if you really did have a big website and you had a need for a big fancy footer, you're better off just upgrading to Elementor than messing around and adding custom code and stuff like that down here. So for now, this is absolutely perfect. So all we need to do is click on publish and we can move on to the next step. So the website is looking pretty good now. We have basically all of the sections that we need to launch right now. So the next thing I want to look at is making it mobile compatible. So let's go back to edit with Elementor. So one thing I'm actually going to do here is I'm actually going to take the contact page here and I'm going to move this down to the very bottom because that makes a little more sense to have it at the bottom of the page. And then I'm also going to drag this just below the pricing. And then the FAQ should go at the very bottom of the page. Or actually, maybe we'll just put it above this one here. So then once they see the price and if they have any objections, for example, they'll see the FAQ and you can address some of those objections in there. And the last thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to just remove this section because there really is no need to have it in this example because, you know, unless you're selling a physical product, you're not going to have shipping or returns and you can address most things in this FAQ. You're going to just need one of these, one or the other really. And this will look really good on a product page, but not so good on the home page. So I'm going to just remove that. Then finally, we'll just put a little bit of space between this. So I'll just click on this and I'll do maybe 50, 100. Perfect. So let's scroll through and have a quick look at that. So looking pretty good. All looks pretty good. Okay. Actually, you know, one last thing I just realized I have to move these anchors. If you're going to move things around, don't forget in the menu up the top, we have the anchor. So this is the FAQ one. I'm going to drag that to there. This is, which one is this? This is the pricing one that can stay. And this is the contact one. So this will go down the bottom of the page. Okay. Now we're going to jump over and make sure this looks okay on mobile. So to do that, we need to come down to the left-hand side again to responsive mode, click on that, and then we want to select mobile portrait. Okay, so let's just expand it and see what we'll need to change here. The header up here seems fine. Obviously, if you want, you can put a little more space between that, or you can put a little border there as well just to divide these sections. But for now, that's absolutely fine. These look well on mobile. This looks a little squished into the middle. The button doesn't look great. The image is too small. This is all too squished as well. You can see that's getting cut off. Again, the image here is squished into the middle, and so is the text. That looks fine. The pricing again could be a little bit wider and a little more gap between these three, sorry. The FAQ is looking okay. And the contact page could do with a tiny bit of work with the spacing, but generally it's okay. You probably, in most cases, you know, you're not going to have request a price. Say you have get in touch, you're not going to have first and last name. You can just have email and the commenter message. So you will just have that section there. But for now, it fits in, and that's all we're looking for is to see how responsive it is. So let's go through and fix some of these problems now. And then we just need to expand this out. And then let's scroll down. Obviously, this grayed out section is going to show up on desktop, so we can just completely ignore that. That never shows up on mobile. And anyway, that's why that looks so weird here. If it's grayed out, you can ignore it. So we're going to come down to this section here. We're going to tackle this first, and we're going to try and make these wider. So to do that, you click on the 6 dots here. You go over to advanced, and under padding, you can see you probably can't really see it, but they're very lightly grayed out. These are the padding dimensions for the desktop version. But if you change them when you're on mobile, it won't change on desktop. So I'll show you. Now we're just going to hit 0. And we can see they're all set to 0 now, so there's no padding, so it's all full width, which is perfect. Now, actually, one thing we might want to do is unlink them. And at the bottom, you can see this is kind of cutting off a little bit, so we can add a little bit of padding there. So say 100 is perfect. Now here we might want to also center this button, so we can just click on this and we can click center. Okay, and we can leave the font as it is. That's looking well. And now let's expand this out and we can see on desktop, nothing has really changed here. So if we click on advanced and then we go up to the 6 dots, we can see the padding is all still there. But then we jump back over to mobile, click on the 6 dots, and the new padding is there. So we just have the padding at the bottom. Perfect, so let's move on here to this section, and what we're going to do is click on the 6 dots for the testimonial, and we want to select advanced. Sorry, 1 second. We want to actually select the pencil icon, should I say, and then we want to go in here and we want to select 0. So that just takes all of the margins out here. And then if we wanted to, you might want a little more space between the top and the bottom here. You could, as I said, click on the 6 dots here again. So we're not on the pencil one here, we're on the whole section here when I click on the 6 dots, and we go margin and do 50 from the top and 50 from the bottom. And that's looking pretty good. And then again, we jump over to desktop to make sure nothing weird has happened. And we can see this is exactly the way it was. So back to mobile. And now let's scroll down again. And here we just need to do what we done earlier for this section, like we did with the section above. We click the 6 dots, we go to advanced, and we just set these to 0. And now here we need a bit of padding at the top. And the bottom is actually fine. So we'll just click the 6 dots. Sorry, we'll just click on unlink the values. And then from the top, we'll do, say, 100. Perfect. Now we'll just center that button. So once that section is done, we'll scroll down, and most of the stuff is actually looking okay. The next section we do need to work on is the pricing. The text is perfect. It's very readable, and it's all centered, and it looks well on mobile. The only problem is there's not a lot of spacing in between them. So to fix that, we just need to click on Edit column up here on the left-hand side, and then we need to make sure Advanced is selected up here. And then the next thing we need to do is come over to margin, and we want to put a larger margin at the bottom of this one. So we'll just set this to say 20. Oh, sorry, they're all linked there, so we need to unlink them. So let's unlink them there, and we'll set the bottom one to 20, or maybe 30. 1 sec. 50 actually is perfect. There's a lot more space in between them. So now we click on Edit column on the second one. We go to Advanced, and here we just need to click on bottom, and we'll select, actually let's just unlink them, and bottom is 50. Now if you wanted on mobile as well to have this one, remember on desktop, I'll show you now actually. On desktop this one's a little bit larger because that's what we want, but maybe on mobile you want them all to look the same. Just so this one isn't pushed right up against the edge. So to do that, obviously you could just set a margin here as well of 10, 10, and then 10 on the left. And if you go back to desktop, we can see this has not changed anything on the desktop. So back, which is perfect, that's exactly what we want. So jump back to mobile, and we can see there's perfect space in between them all. Okay, for some reason here the save hasn't taken where I moved the FAQ below that, so let's just actually move them back to where they should be, where I put them earlier at the start of the video. So FAQ goes below, this is the FAQ anchor, so let's just pull that down again. There we go. I'm gonna remove this section, and let me just see, oh yeah, the contact goes down the very bottom. Okay, so let's just move the contact anchor here. Okay, so that should be done now. That should be perfect. So let's just expand this here and see what it looks like. It's looking good on desktop. Let's have a little quick look on mobile one more time. Sorry. And it's all looking good on mobile too. Now obviously you can play around with the spacing of some of these things as well if you want. But for now, everything is perfectly responsive and it's all looking good.